Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Stephanie Delgado, and I'm the Education Manager here at Hay Software Systems. I'm really excited to get to talk to you today about the GetHelp 4.5 enhancement release that has just been out just recently, and all the great features that are going to come into play with this new release. A lot to cover this afternoon. I'll make sure to be as thorough as possible, but if there's any questions, please go to throw those in the chat window. I have Gina, who is one of our amazing trainers, who is also on and who's going to be moderating the chat window. Hey, Gina. She will definitely ensure that any questions that do come about, we are able to address. She'll interject as needed, because my focus will be to ensure I get all those great pieces over to you. What I'd like to go ahead and do ahead of time here is share my screen so that I can show you what all we'll be talking about this afternoon. If I can find it. There we go. All right, Gina, do you see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yep, I sure do.
Perfect, thank you. All right, everybody. The 4.5 enhancement release, there's quite a bit to it, but they all kind of work together, which is really exciting. And as you see with the bullets that I have on my agenda, it talks about inserting an approval workflow. So all these pieces surrounding creating some workflows, even pre-workflows for approvals. This is something we definitely heard from you, and we wanted to ensure that we would be able to cover it. So also with that is some kind of general automation pieces. So being able to, as the second bullet mentions, change ticket statuses with an automation rule. Additionally, there's some new condition opportunities that you will have with assignee as well as status. And then also, in addition, being able to auto close. This is something we've heard from you as well of, hey, it's great that you have the opportunity for me to resolve. And then depending on the district's processes, right? Some districts said, and then somebody else may go and actually close my tickets. But some of our districts said, hey, actually, we would like that to take place all at one time. And I've actually created a general automation rule for us to close out your tickets as well. And then some additional pieces that have really been coming into play more and more recently is the whole aspect of technician roles and being able to customize for not only technicians. Now, the roles may be considered an admin or a technician or a user within the GetHelp application, but you can actually alter like a technician role to meet your needs. One of those that we hear a lot about is, hey, principals on certain campuses or maybe all of our campuses want to be able to see either certain types of tickets that are being submitted, like certain maybe hardware requests. Some we're hearing for some sort of budgeting requests even on their campuses for either all of those tickets or maybe some of them. And you being able to set up the application to where they can only have access to certain pieces that you want and actually be able to take action as you would prefer for those individuals. So we're definitely gonna hop in the whole kind of technician roles area of the application and see some new opportunities that you have in there. Also a new concept, but there's something else that we heard was, hey, Hayes, we would like for what we're calling a follower. So an individual to be able to be applied to a ticket, they don't have to be actually assigned to the ticket in any method. They just get to be kind of a viewer of that ticket. And this could come into play again, maybe with budgeting type scenarios, maybe a superintendent for just like a specific ticket for them. We hear that a lot, like, hey, a superintendent came to our campus and they needed access to certain information. And so, you know, they submitted a request at our campus. And so being able to give them access to that specific request that they have or that ticket that they have, and they can follow it through, some email notifications also can be applied to those as well. Also, we continue the expansion of the search area of the application, everybody. And these are two big ones I know you're gonna be excited about. Hey, being able to search for a tag number or a serial number. So I can quickly search for a tag number and I can get all tickets that are associated to that specific tag. So definitely a cool piece to see. We're gonna get to see that here in a little bit. And then another piece is, as we're looking at expanding on our survey module, there's just, we just want to make note of it. It's things that you really won't see too much on the front end, but just know that we're continuing to work on the progression of our survey aspect of the application. And so there's been some integration pieces that kind of work to just kind of streamline that. So that's all I'm going to talk about the survey for today. But just know that we're continuing to work on that and expand on our survey module as well, everybody. All right, Gina, I see some comments being placed. Is there anything in particular or just some hellos? And if there's anybody, I see that we have a good amount of individuals that want to put who they are, where they're from in that chat window. You know, we can start some really fun, great conversation, everyone. So I'm definitely excited to see you all on the session this afternoon, and hopefully we'll cover those pieces that you're excited to see. So I'm going to go ahead and move my application over to my screen. Gina, do you now see the application? Yes? Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. All right, everybody, when I come in, I am definitely in a training site just to ensure that all the fun that I'm going to do this afternoon is in there and it does not impact anybody's live data. So mine definitely has a lot happening here. So one of the first pieces I want to talk to you about, let's go and start off with the kind of the roles, the technician permission sets, those new ones that have been enabled. And bear with me, everybody. I want to make sure I don't forget anything. If anybody knows me, I always like to make sure that I do not forget anything. Yes, because actually I do want to bring up my PowerPoint. I actually had something I wanted to show you all, so I'm glad I reminded myself. All right, everybody, so as we are looking at this new approval workflow, I wanted to show a nice little diagram that was provided for me. Actually, it really does a great job of capturing this new concept for the GetHelp application. So originally, and prior to this release, the top area here is what our workflow was. So no approval incorporated at this point. So as you see here, it's pretty linear, right? We had tickets will start in status of new, they move to open, they move to in progress. Now from in progress, there's several things potentially can take place. Those tickets could be placed on hold. Maybe you're waiting for some materials or some information. And so there's potential that tickets would be placed in hold. Additionally, and I didn't mention it a moment ago, but removed tickets from in progress could go to removed, and even new could be removed as well. As you continue through that process flow, here's that resolved and closed piece, everyone, that now with the automation, we can actually make it complete in one action. So we would move into resolved and then we moved into closed. There is a new automation that can make this actually happen at once. So if you say a ticket's going to be moved into go into resolved, I also want it to be closed. We're going to see that here shortly. And then it could go to reopen potentially if somebody were to submit to say, hey, actually that issue was not fully addressed. You have the opportunity for reopen. So as you see here, based off of my, the arrows, this is kind of the workflow that we had. We had requests of, hey, that's great, but there are times, especially as I mentioned a moment ago, principals want to be able to do some approvals, or maybe somebody else within the district for certain either types of issues, so those problem types, maybe certain requests. Another one that we're starting to really hear about is some sort of maybe type of budgetary purposes as well. So we have heard you, and we have added this new flow to it's a pre-flow to the existing. So we have now inserted the approval flows. All right, everybody. So where it will begin is request approval. And then from request approval, that individual who is the approver, who's assigned to approve, will get to make a decision. Do I approve? It will be in a state of pending. And you can even kind of put it in pending if maybe you need to go and do your own research, let's say. Or you can deny a request as well, everybody. So these are the new pieces that are added onto our process flow. So I want to show you what that looks like actually all combined now. There's definitely several pieces kind of now coming into play. So my original aspect is still here, new, open, and so forth. But where this new piece comes into play is right there at the very beginning with new, I now have request approval. Something else to note, everyone, with the approval aspect is that it is all triggered based off of automatic ticket routing. So I can't go and just be like, hey, set this as, approved. Like you must follow the automatic ticket process flow for it to actually, or the automation flow for it to actually be applied to a ticket, everybody. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. All right, so I want to kind of give you a visual aspect as we're starting to to progress through. So the first piece I want to talk about before we even get to the actual conditions and triggers, that whole automation aspect, is I want to talk to you a little bit more about first creating that specific user. I will tell you, I had mentioned several different pieces or new features in the application, but all of these features really kind of combined together create your experience, right? So your technician experience, your user experience, and so forth. So I'm going to actually do a bit of setup ahead of time so you can see what that all entails. And then from there, we will actually work through a ticket so you can at least see those in action. Okay, everybody? So I'm going to go to admin, and I'm going to start off under user management and my roles. So there are some new roles I want to make sure that I talk about with you. So yes, you can keep the default permission sets for a technician. That is completely okay. This is just the opportunity to expand in this area. So if you want to expand or maybe have some customization, especially for the scenarios, I'm hearing a lot more with our districts of, I have our regular technicians, I have maybe individuals that only work on sites, and I want them to only be able to see those tickets that are at a certain site. I have even maybe some student help desk individuals, volunteers of some sorts, and then of course the principal aspect that I've mentioned already. So with that, you get to customize each of their experience within the application, everyone. The first thing that you would do is come to clone. I actually have one that I want to utilize. So I'm going to use this one that my sample of principal approval only, and I'll click on edit. So if I clicked on clone, it would open up the screen for me. I will want to ensure I name the role to what, of course, makes sense. If you have ever been on one of my sessions, I talk about naming conventions quite a bit. It is extremely important that you have a solid naming convention for yourself and others that come in later to understand the reasoning behind the creation of something, right? A description is always helpful for that same purpose. And then below is ticket permissions, everyone. Now, initially, all technicians will have all of these permission sets. And there's quite a few here, and many of them you may have already seen previously. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the new ones first, which are approved tickets, right? So the whole aspect that we just saw of the new kind of approval portion of the workflow. Additionally, being able to close a ticket or not. So you can make the decision of, do I want a technician to be able to close the ticket, or do I want that to be a certain individual, or do I want it just to come through automatic ticket routing, right? So that automation aspect as well. And then, do I want to allow for this specific individual to apply or add additional followers to a specific ticket? We're going to talk even more about followers here in just a little bit, everybody. Excuse me. So some notes as we are looking. So those are the kind of new opportunities with permissions for the permission area for that role. Now I'm going to go ahead and shift over to the concept of my sample for this afternoon is going to be, hey, I have a principal who wants to be able to approve anytime there is a request or an issue with hardware on their campus. They're seeing maybe the scenario is they're seeing a lot of those requests coming through, and honestly, it seems to be a lot of the same individuals. So they just want to be able to pinpoint and be able to understand the reasons behind it. And what I'm hearing with a lot of districts is some principals are very, very excited about being involved and want that role, and some are not, and they may not want to be involved. Again, you get to make those decisions on how you apply the permission sets and user roles to individuals. So some could be just followers if you wanted, or you could have some that are in and actually do approvals as well. All customized based off what your needs are, everybody. So with that kind of scenario in mind, I have my principal approval only. And if you notice, I have everything removed from my ticket permissions, my ticket visibility, all the articles and so forth, because the focus for this individual is approvals only. That is their goal. They just want to be able to be, have that communication aspect of what is occurring on their campuses, and then be able to say, yes, I approve it. Maybe I deny, or maybe it puts in that pending state so that I can go and investigate a little bit more. So a couple things that you'll need to do to ensure this individual can actually approve. Of course, approved tickets is going to be one of them. Additionally, you will want to ensure that change status is checked as well, because they will be updating or changing that status of the ticket, right? From going from the approval aspect into the open status that we're going to see here shortly. And then this one is determined on what your process flow is. If this is unchecked, which is assign, reassign tickets, the individual will not be able to reassign that ticket to someone else. What we're seeing is that to ensure that they are able to complete their piece of the process, it may be that you designate assign, reassign tickets. Now, something that we always say here is go and test it out for yourselves as well, of course. But we'll see this expand down the road too. I believe everyone, and there'll be some separation here as well versus assign myself or someone else. But at this point, these are the three that you're going to really want to kind of look at and test out for what your needs are for your district and your approvals. So approved ticket, of course, assign, reassign the ticket to ensure it meets the needs of potentially pushing that the approval to another individual or assigning it to somebody else, and then change status here as well, because we will be updating the status from the approval over into the actual workflow portion that was already existing, everybody. So once it's all set up, you would just save. I'm gonna go ahead and cancel because I've already saved it here. So that is the first step, is establishing your principal approval role, let's say, or that individual role. The next step that I want to make sure that I mention to everybody is, do not forget, under user management, you're going to want to apply that specific role. So you're going to go to all users. You're going to locate your individual, which here I have my principal, edit, and make sure that they are a service technician and their role is principal approval. So I have a couple. I have my default, which would be everything. But then I am saying, well, Principal Delgado can only approve. And so I'm associating that new role with Principal Delgado. And then assign sites, of course, you can choose 1, 2, or all sites, however you choose. I'm just leaving it with all sites for today, just so we can see it in action, everybody. All right, so now I have established the role aspect. The next piece, which is really the biggest piece we're going to spend the most time on this afternoon, is going to be under admin and ticket routing. Now, something you'll notice if you have been in here previously, when I would hover over ticket routing, I'd see arrivals. That is now gone, everybody. So just know you're not going to see that term arrivals any longer. We now have ticket routing and we have ticket creation, and we actually have a new tab called ticket update. So there's several things that we're going to get to see as we are progressing through this area of the application. Now, a couple other little tidbits. If you already had some routing rules established, they should be, or they will be, under ticket creation. And so you'll see those there. You'll have to come in to actually create those ticket updates, those rules after the fact. So overall, you should be here already, as you see mine. I have a couple, but the one that I want to focus on is, again, hardware requests for my campuses, and I have a principal approval. Creating a rule is very similar to what we're going to do with editing, but I'm going to go ahead and utilize this one here. So I'm going to go to edit. Now this probably looks a little different for you. So under my edit rule, of course, my name, my description, that's still the same, everybody. I still have my conditions area. So what's the criteria that I want to have an action triggered off of? And today's, I'm going to be utilizing problem type. But I wanted to show you as a reminder that you definitely have some opportunities on what you can trigger off of those conditions. So as you see here, I have quite a few. Now, my status and that whole assigning those new opportunities for condition triggers, there you go, will actually take place under my update. So we'll see that here shortly. But here's my nice list of what I can trigger off of. Again, today I'm going to utilize problem type. My operators are going to be dependent on what I do choose, right, under that initial action or condition more so. So I'm going to say is, because my focus for this afternoon is hardware. Now, I could choose multiple. Just as a reminder, everybody, I could definitely choose multiple problem types if I so chose, but just for today's purposes, I'm going to utilize the problem type is hardware. Now, check out this bottom section here. I really appreciate the methodology that takes place with the what actions should be performed. So who do I want this to be assigned to? So just as a step back, anytime a ticket comes in and the problem type is hardware, what actions do I want it to take, such as who do I want it to be assigned to? Now, I can say unassigned, and if I do so, I will want to ensure I apply a service group, everybody. The reason for that is if I do not apply a service group here, there is opportunity that there'll be kind of course, a void because it'll sit in your unassigned. Nobody will get notified that that ticket has been submitted. So definitely we recommend ensuring that you apply a service group at minimum if you do choose unassigned as the assigned to. It's a required field, as you see with my asterisk here, but I'm actually going to go ahead and say my principal. I then need to specify, if I so choose, what will the status be? And this is where approvals come into play. So when I utilize my drop-down arrow, I can have it go to open or removed, but the new process flow is going to be initiated or kicked off with request approval, everybody. So now let's just recap one more time. So anytime a ticket comes in and the problem type that is applied to that ticket is hardware, these are the actions I want the application to take. I want it to assign it to my specific Principal Delgado. Now, of course, if I added additional conditions like a certain site, Learning Campus is one of our high schools on our training site. So I could say, anytime the problem type is hardware and it's at a specific location, then I want you to do these things. So I could definitely do that to try to really hone in on a specific kind of individual, for their approvals. So it will be assigned to Principal Delgado. Then I am going to go ahead and apply a service group so that my technicians know that it's coming. So I'm going to assign it to my hardware request group. For those that are not as familiar with service groups definitely can be another opportunity for you to just notify individuals that may not even have to take action, or they may need to, that certain requests are coming through. We have seen quite an array of opportunities utilizing service groups. For this scenario, it is my service group hardware request, and I'm letting my technicians kind of know something's coming about, so that it just helps for them and or potentially me, if I apply myself to that service group, to have that knowledge of things coming down the pipeline. Then set status, I'm saying if problem type is this, it's going to be assigned to Principal Delgado. It's going to go to the service group, and I am going to kick off the request approval process, everybody. So this is the starting of that process. Now, a couple of notes to also make with this area. It follows suit to even prior with our arrivals and being able to enable or disable a certain a condition, or in this scenario, action. So I could actually say, I don't need to worry about assigned to service group. I could disable it if I want to. My key item to note here is definitely ensure if you're not going to use an area, make sure to disable it. That just ensures that there's no little hiccups or anything throughout. So if I decided I don't need to worry about a service group, go ahead and disable it. It will hop over it. As you see, it's grayed out, and it will go to the next item. And something to note with this area of the application, they are all actually, the actions occur simultaneously. So in other scenarios, with our routing rules, it kind of starts at the top, right? And it works its way down. And it finds the first one that will be triggered off of, and then it will actually apply those. In this scenario, these all will run at the exact same time, everybody. So I'm gonna go ahead and enable it and keep my hardware requests. And then I don't need to say update, but you would want to ensure that you update if you make any actual changes to this area of the application. So that is the first step of creating a ticket. What do I want the application to do once that ticket has been created? Now I'm going to also show you establishing your updates as well, because we're going to get to see it all come into play here shortly. So the next piece I want to show you is ticket updates, everyone. And there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about. The first is, okay, the hardware tickets, so the problem type. Let's go ahead and hop in so as I'm describing it, you can actually visually see it. Again, following suit, your naming convention, your description, applying that, everyone. So my criteria is a little different now. And this is where the opportunity for the status can come into play especially. So I'm still keeping with anytime a ticket comes in with the problem type of hardware. So that's my first condition. And then I also want to establish a status piece. And the status is, and I'm going to show you my opportunities that I have here. So you'll notice now I have, if the status is approved, what do I want the next action to be? But what also, if I needed to say, well, what happens if it's denied or it's put in the status of pending? Is there any actions that I want for the application to take action on? Maybe some emails to go to a service group or to an individual. I definitely can make those decisions here. For today's purposes, my focus will be, though, the approved aspect, everybody. So problem type is hardware, and so both must be valid. The status is now approved. So once a ticket goes into the approval process and it gets approved, what is the next step that I want the application to take? So upon update, well, I want it to actually be assigned to a specific individual, Stephanie Delgado here. Now, if I didn't want to have it assigned to a specific individual, I can definitely utilize unassigned, everybody. Or this is a scenario where I could actually say it's not going to go assigned to anybody. It's going to go to a certain service group or notify a service group. It'll go to, of course, the unassigned bucket, right? Because if there's no one assigned to it, it goes to the unassigned bucket. So I would recommend going ahead and applying unassigned just to be safe, and then also applying your service group here. But I'm going to go ahead and say Stephanie admin here. I'm going to actually now have it go to the assigned group of admins in the applications. It's a new service group, so that information will get updated. Then what status do I want the ticket to go into? At this time, it's open from that approval aspect. So it's going to move the ticket to open. All right, everyone, so a lot has taken place. I know I've recapped already, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. So what's going to occur when we are looking at our ticket is it's going to look for the problem type. It's going to assign it to a certain individual as well as service groups, and it's going to put it through that approval workflow. Once it gets approved, I then am going to have it go to a new individual, so Stephanie admin, to a new service group, and it's going to move over to the open status within the application, everybody. So lots of pieces have kind of come into play. So the other piece I want to talk to you about as we're setting up for the whole experience, right? That technician experience as we are working a ticket through the entire process of the application is, all right, well, you know what, Steph, I really don't want to have to, after I resolve a ticket, go and put it to resolved as well. That's not how our district functions. They're kind of one and the same in our district. That is completely okay. So I'm going to show you something else really cool, everyone. So auto close hardware tickets. I'm going to go to edit. Again, you could create the rule and you would see the similar layout is what I'm about to show you. So name, description, here are my conditions again, and I have problem type still sticking with the specific problem type of only hardware. Do I have to have a problem type? No, I don't actually. I could have just status is resolved, and then what actions do I want the application to take? Well, I don't want it to be assigned to anybody. Or go to unassigned because it's in the status of resolved, right? So I just need to keep whatever action, whatever the individual that was assigned previously, as well as the service group, those remain. But what I want the application to do anytime a ticket goes into the status of resolved is I want it to go into the status of closed, everybody. Now, yes, I can move it to in progress, but my main function is closed for this specific new feature of the application. And just to make note, as you notice here, I have disabled these two, so it hops right over them, and it's just going to run the piece of closing out my tickets. So a nice little efficiency piece as you're just looking at progressing your tickets through the workflow process within the application. I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I had it already saved. Jean, I'm seeing some action. Everything good on chat? Any questions?
Yep, everything's good.
Wonderful. And then Gina, please, Gina is definitely very knowledgeable in the GetHelp application as well, everybody. So Gina, if you happen to notice anything or have any tidbits that you want to supply to the rest of us, please do so.
No
All right,
problem.
everyone. So we'll get to see some other cool updates with our cards here in just a moment as I create a ticket within the application. So I'm going to go ahead and start. So I've done a lot of like preparation pieces, right? Well, you're like, let me see it in action now, Steph. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Create Ticket. And here are just my default problem types. I'm actually going to choose hardware. And I'm going to go ahead and make this pretty easy for us. So I'm going to say hardware principal request. Double check my spelling, Gina. It's been rough lately. Approval, actually. There we go. Priority, we'll say hi. I can apply my, my campus this method. Actually, though, since I'm going to be showing tag number here shortly, I'm going to apply another tag. So it's applied my latitude 13, has updated my site as well as my room, which I truly appreciate. Just for simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and utilize my summary for my description, everybody. And then some pieces that I do need to ensure I include are assigned to. Now, with assigned to, when you are looking at, of course, utilizing the automation pieces of the application, one of the key things is to ensure you choose run automatic ticket routing, everyone. This will, if of course is not utilized, that approval workflow piece cannot come into play, right? Because I can't come in after the fact to go and apply that. It's all through the automation piece. Something else we're going to see a little bit more later, but you can actually start to apply as followers here. But to keep our focus on the whole automation piece, I'm going to worry about followers here in just a little bit, everyone. But no, here's even the start of where I could add that individual that's just a visible aspect of a ticket. So being able to just quickly see the current status of a ticket as it's progressing through the process flow. Submitted by, that is myself. I can utilize the dropdown or click on Submitted by Me, which is Stephanie Admin here. So just to recap on everything, it's my hardware principal approval request. I have details about the tag, as well as ensuring that I am running the automatic ticket routing piece of the application, and then who it's submitted by, myself. I'm going to go ahead and click on Create. It lets me know that some assignment rules for hardware requests were utilized, which is fantastic. So let's look at now what my results are, everybody. If you many of you probably heard me say, I'm a visual person, so I always notice visual aspects. So for me, and for those that are also visual, this is new, right? We have some kind of more pastel type colors that have now come into play with the application. So you're gonna see like this purple color when it's in request approval. So each of those new statuses or approval statuses will have a new associated color. And we're gonna get to see that here. Actually, let me just make sure I don't forget that piece. I'm logged in as my principal Delgado here. Let me refresh. Actually, it's already there for me. So as you see here on the card view for my principal, it is now that purple color for them. So even for yourselves, if there's going to be some that you may need to approve, you'll get to see the variance in the color scheme. Again, I appreciate because I'm a visual person, so I know right away, okay, this is something where I need to go take action. It's, in that approval state of the application. Additionally, in the opportunity of actions to take, it now says approve, deny with a little like check mark here, everyone. So as I am looking to progress with the specific ticket. In fact, since I'm here, I'm going to click on the actual ticket as my principal Delgado. And do know that, and we're going to look at notifications here shortly, any of the emails that you enable or establish, of course, they will be triggered for this individual through the process flow. So now that I'm in as Principal Delgado, there's some things that we can see right away. I cannot edit. Now, of course, I can go view device details, that quick information here. I did give opportunity to assign another individual here, but I did not give opportunity for rerouting. So there's some things that I am unable to do because I've removed those opportunities under that role, right? So that technician role that I applied, everybody. Some things I was going to show you on the other screen, but I'm going to show you here, in fact, is look, it's assigned to Principal Delgado. And just a reminder, there's a nice little visual indicator next to it, like a little icon. If you hover over those, it's going to give you details for each of these kind of areas I'm about to walk through here. So I can quickly see the assigned technician's contact information, who submitted it. Well, Stephanie Admin, here's her contact info. What service group is applied? It's a hardware request. And I actually appreciate, because if I click on it, it tells me who is in that specific service group there. Now, I did not check that this role could actually apply followers. If you remember correctly, I only chose 3 opportunities: approval, status changes, and then the reassign aspect, or assign, reassign. And so if you notice, I cannot add followers here either. So we're going to continue to see the progression of when you are looking at customizing your technician roles, what that can look like through the application, everybody. So as an approver, Principal Delgado, what my actions that need to take place are, I need to go and approve and deny. You saw on my dashboard, I can approve and or deny from there, but I can follow the process flow that for those that are actively using the application, by just clicking in the kind of upper right-hand corner here. Now a new window pops up that's specific to approvals. So I have ticket approval, I can approve. Here's the deny aspect and the pending, as we saw with those opportunities for additional kind of condition triggers, right? And then an assign to. So there is opportunity if I want to keep it in pending, and then that will kind of hold that current state of that ticket. And actually, I do want to make a little side note about SLAs. For any of our districts that are utilizing SLAs, the approval process is actually kind of like the pause or the hold aspect, because it's a pre-portion of the process of a ticket being worked on. So just know that it will not impact in that you'll have extended length of time with your SLAs if you do have those applied within your district. So I can make some choices here, as you see. I'm gonna go ahead and utilize approve because I was given the opportunity to assign somebody else. Remember, it was one of those 3 options that I did choose. I could choose another individual if I wanted to. This is something, though, that you'll want to communicate to your principals or whoever it may be that's going to be doing the approval workflow process, everyone, is establishing what their role will be as well. So you say, Principal Stephanie or Delgado, you will come in and you'll make the decision if it's approved or not. Don't worry about assigning to someone else. It's going to auto-assign for you. That's fine, because we have automatic ticket routing that's going to take care of the next actions that need to take place. So do you remember with my updates, mine should go to Stephanie Admin, right? Yes, Principal Delgado can add comments as well, which will be saved under those comments location. So if something as simple as approved, or if it's denied, maybe why, and then they'll click on confirm, everyone. Now, right away, my status has been updated. And then over to the right is some things I want to show you. Contact information, assigned technician. So now my update rule has been applied, and it is Stephanie Admin Delgado who submitted. It was me originally, so it's my information still there. And then it went to the service group of admins. Because I'm still logged in as Principal Delgado, I still can't add my followers. We're going to go see that here in just a moment. This is another piece that I want to make sure to mention so that you can communicate to those that will be approving. That's the extent of their part of the process, or should be. Probably the next step will be for a technician to come in and actually start to work on the ticket. So just let them know that that's the extent. They don't need to go to start progress, that the application, or the ticket will be addressed with actual technicians. So then my principal could close out and be done with this specific request, everyone. Now I'm going to go ahead and refresh just so we can see the updates that took place. I'm now back at my Stephanie Admin user, goodness sakes. And I'm back to where I was here. I actually have the availability to edit, to reroute, start progress, as well as add followers here, everyone. So as we have seen now at this point, when we had a ticket that was submitted, with a problem type of hardware, and we set those approval conditions. It was for the principal. The principal had to go in, they had to approve. It's now been updated and been actually assigned to a technician, and has even updated the service group here. So now it's actually at my kind of technician role of the application so that they can progress the ticket through the typical process flow of a ticket within GetHelp. The one piece I want to make sure to show you is the followers aspect, everyone. It's extremely easy to use. And there's a couple little notes I want to make sure that I communicate to you. So
Yes,
I'm going to click. Did I have a comment, Gina?
Yeah. From Stephanie, could you show real quick how that whole approval process was documented in the history of the ticket?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that. So I'm going to go to history, everyone. And what I appreciate about the application is it builds on itself with the history. If there's more than one action that has actually taken place through a process, it's going to actually kind of hide them for me. So, kind of condense it. So I have the initial, which was 6 minutes ago, ticket automation, and 4 changes were made, everyone. So when I do so, it lets me know it was added hardware request to service group. It changed assigned to from unassigned to that Principal Delgado, right? So that was my first step. And then it set last routing rule to hardware requests. And it changed my status from new to that new status of request approval. So that was the first action that took place with my automation. Then the application, and let me minimize so that's a little easier to see. Principal Delgado, remember, was signed in and changed the status from request approval to approved. So that was the next step in the process flow. And then my last that took place, a big portion of it was that automation aspect, ticket automation, and 5 changes were made, everyone. And as you see here, it removed hardware requests from service group, right? Because we changed the service group to the admin service group. It changed the assigned to from Principal Delgado to Stephanie admin. And it set the last routing rule to hardware updates. So it was that second trigger piece, right, for those updates to take place after approval. And it changed status from approved to open. So as you see here, all of those pieces that we initially built out or created with our roles, with our ticket automation, the conditions, we now actually get to even see those in play with history. Did you have any add tos with that, Gina?
Nope, that is perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so I want to talk a little bit about followers, everyone, and then I want to progress this ticket through just really quickly so we can see that last automation piece that I did, which is when I click on resolve, it's going to also close my ticket as well. So I'm going to work this ticket through the process, start progress, add my comments, of course, which those will get saved in my public comments. So this will just be a little piece here for us. If I place it on hold, it would pause it, right? It would, if I had SLAs, they would be paused right here as well, everyone. So now here's the next step, resolved. Confirm. And look at that, no closed. It did it for me. And if I go down to my history, ticket automation made 2 changes. And last routing rule for auto close hardware tickets, status from resolved to close, everyone. So isn't that a nice little kind of efficiency piece for those that do not utilize that, the closed aspect of a ticket or that interim process, right? So something else I needed to ensure that I talked to you about is followers. If you notice, my ticket is closed. I technically can add a follower at any point of a ticket's lifespan. I don't know if you need to really for afterwards, but you do have the opportunity. Again, each district is different and what your processes are. It could be that after the fact, the superintendent comes to you and says, hey, I'd really like to see that ticket, the comments made. You could add them as a follower. So I'm going to show you how to add followers. It's just like adding a service group, everyone. Now, some notes to make about followers. Followers must be within the user management area of the application. Now, they can be an admin, they can be a technician, and they can be a user as well, so even a student or staff member. The key note to make with that is whatever their role is, So if they are just a user in the user portal side, they will only be able to see information. So they wouldn't be able to see your private notes, right? Because users in the user portal cannot see private notes. So, and users in the user portal cannot come in and take any real action, right, after they submit, except comments. That will still be the case, everybody. Now, what the other piece I want to make sure to note with you is there is going to be opportunities for them to be notified. So some email pieces, so that they will be made aware that, hey, you've been added to this ticket. And if they want to go in, they can quickly go see. When they click to go to the view, they will actually, again, get the view that they are allowed. And that's based off of the user management area of the application. So then I would just come in and say, I'm going to add Mary. Add Mary Smiles. Always make sure to save. You can add up to 5 followers, everybody. So just know that. The kind of rule of thumb is if it's more than 5, you may want to look at adding maybe like a service group for these individuals. Because again, we can reduce the opportunities that they have to actually take any form of action or view certain areas of the application. This is just a very quick way to add an individual or 2 to a specific ticket. So I've added it to Mary. And then what I want to show you is the opportunities to apply some email notifications for these followers. So then that's a piece, that's the overall concept with the ticket, everyone. But now I'm going to go to admin and I'm going to go to notifications. Because there is now under notifications an opportunity for followers. So notify followers when any comment has been added to the ticket. So if comments were added to the ticket, those public ones, they would get a notification of the comments. Also, under status changes, there's a whole new section for followers. Exactly what we've seen previously in that, do I want them to be notified when the status is changed from new to open, when it moves to in progress, when it's resolved and or closed? And do I want for them to be made aware of any of these new approval aspects as well? I can definitely apply those. So they will receive email notifications with a link to that specific ticket. They will be able to just quickly view it. And of course, again, I just want to make sure I communicate this well. They will only be able to take action or see what their permission set is based on, everybody. So that is the follower aspect of the application as well. There's a couple more features I want to ensure that I include for you. So I'm gonna go ahead, I always like to start fresh at my dashboard. We've definitely seen a lot already as we have looked at adding the new roles, as well as, of course, the whole automation aspect. And there's quite a few pieces in there, right? The next piece I want to show you is a nice little efficiencies piece. We've heard you say, hey, we love our integration with Tip of IT as well, but there are times when I want to be able to see all the tickets that a specific tag has been associated to. So in the search area, it has been expanded to now apply tag number as well as serial number, everyone. So this is the next feature I want to make sure to talk to you about. So do you remember I applied that 5455 tag number to one of my tickets? We'll go ahead and click enter. You can click on the search button as well. So now I have 3 tickets that have the tag number 5455 associated. I'm going to click on one because I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I click on view device details. Here's my 5455, everyone. Now, something to note here is just the search results are going to do its best to, of course, capture that specific information. If I happen to have 5455 also in a serial number, it's going to pull that, of course, as well. So please know that when you are going in there and you're looking for specific information for a specific tag or a serial number, so here's my serial number for that specific tag. With the same ones, right? Because it's the same serial number and tag connection there. But just know that that is something that you'll want to keep in mind as you are utilizing the search option. But as we continue to see the search area grow and expand, this is definitely another value add with the search area of the application, everyone. I can quickly come in and view each of the specific tickets, hop through them if I need to maybe see some sort of root cause or actions that keep being applied to a specific asset here. So that is the search field expansion, everyone. And And I want to make sure I do not forget anything else here. Let me go ahead and go to my, yes, okay, great. So that is all of the features for the 4.5 enhancement release, everyone. We talked about, the whole inserting an approval workflow. It's a pre-process to the typical flow that you're used to, from the time that a ticket is open to the time that it is then resolved and closed. We also saw the opportunity to utilize some new statuses with that automation rule as well, and the new opportunities for signees, so signing individuals, as well as triggering off of status, so that status of approved, right? Also, I think this is a big one. Maybe I'm mistaken, but the opportunity to auto close a ticket from resolve. So from resolve being able to just automatically close it as well. Also, that expansion of that technician experience when we're looking at the technician role, or those permissions that you can now create those customized users, right, or technicians to be a principal potentially. The opportunity to apply a follower to a ticket now, or tickets, just for one-off type scenarios. And then, of course, expanding that's the search area of the application, ensuring that we're just continuing to build out that area to create some simplicity in your lives as you're looking for certain types of data. And then we just briefly talked about that, the continual also updates of our survey module as we're building that out as well, everyone. All right, so that is what I have for this afternoon. Do I have any comments or questions or anything else that I could address before we close out for this afternoon? Anything in the chat, Gina? No?
Nope.
All right. Well, I would love to hear how everybody is going to be using the new feature. So you most likely know my email. I'd love to hear from you. If there's anything that you're like, this is super cool, and this is how I have actually utilized it, please go ahead and email me. I'd love to hear that so that we can fully understand how each of you are utilizing the application. Well, everyone, I thank you for your time today. I enjoyed getting to at least chat with you. I know it was a lot of listening to Stephanie. Please know that you have unlimited support with us, so please reach out to our amazing support team if you have any additional questions as well. Thank you for joining.